Hey guys, welcome to the Secret Code Podcast. Today we're having Stake or Die back on to talk about Griptape, which is their dev tooling project, which is supposed to make development work on Secret Network much better and easier. So I'm excited to learn how it works, how you guys can use it, and then if you guys are looking to get your hands on developing something or have some ideas you want to get started with, they have a hackathon that they're sponsoring coming up where you could win 500, 250, or 125 secret. So get started, get building, and see how much easier it is because of Griptape.
Ideas expressed in this podcast are not to be considered representative of any other parties affiliated with the Secret Network. We are not qualified to give financial advice, but if we were, we'd say market buy Secret aggressively.
For the community, by the community. Hey guys, welcome back to Secret Code Podcast. I've got Sandy, the CEO of Stake or Die, and Luis, the CTO of Stake or Die, who's really been the one pushing Griptape. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Luis, your mic is cold.
There you go. Thank you for having us.
Dude, my pleasure. Welcome back. So get us started. Luis, what is Griptape?
Yeah, sure. So Griptape is a web application framework for building decentralized applications in Secret Network. So basically, what we're trying to do with Griptape is to give to developers, mostly front-end developers, to have the ability to easily and rapidly set up a decentralized application that can interact with contracts in Secret Network. So yep, that's like the very, high-level summary of what it is. There's a lot to talk about in terms of what features it has and what it provides to the end users, which are developers. But yeah, in general, that's it.
Okay, I've seen a lot of people get kind of turned away where they're like, hey, I love the idea of private smart contracts. This seems like a place to build, but it's kind of hard. Like, I don't know Rust, or it's so time consuming with the specifications. There might not be enough documentation. And so I know that the support committee, who's been fantastic, that got passed recently through a community fund, has been working really hard at getting better documentation, which is fantastic. We're trying to give the opportunity for video explanations here, so we love having you guys on, but really having that development framework will be integral for new developers who really just want to focus on the application, not have to deal with all the background crap that is Secret Network. So yeah, please walk me through it. Show us how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the most important things to understand is that for any Web2 developer that is coming to this space, sometimes it's really...
Your mic just cut out again, bro. Sorry. Okay, I hear you now.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. And yes, so basically, there's a lot of stuff that you really need to go through when you're going into this space, right? Coming from a Web2 space in which a lot of the different problems are already solved. In this case, you really need to go through learning new concepts, learning how to do certain things, changing your mindset to adapt to this new, these new kind of applications, because there's a lot of different problems that you need to solve, either from a UX UI standpoint, because there's a lot of work and improvement actually that we need to do there, but also in how to build the application so you can maintain the application easily and you can actually have something to work. One of the first problems that we found when we were developing Griptape is that how difficult it is just to have something to work. How difficult it is just, okay, I just want to interact. I have my counter contract. I just want to start using it somehow and start having a front end for that. And our main focus was to make that really easy, so people don't really need to go really deep into how the blockchain works and how all the how the privacy of Secret Network works, because that adds another layer of complexity about how to really put your mind around how the things work. So yeah, I think that's one of the main things that we try to do. But yeah, in general, Griptape, for some of you that are wondering how that works, Griptape is basically a layer on top of Secret.js, which is a JS library that is right now used to interact with Secret Network. So a lot of people was wondering, okay, hey, how did you wrote like a new version of SecretJS? Not really. We're just using SecretJS like our backend, let's say, for Griptape, but we're improving Griptape. We're improving SecretJS to have this new layer of APIs that can help actually to to make easy the transition between having to really learn all the things that you need to do in order to set up an application by just rapidly call a couple of functions in your code, and then you're ready to go. So yeah, that's
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna make a sandwich, do you want to start with the flour or do you want to start with the bread?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's different. You know, just to give you a little bit of backstory, when I first started developing on the Secret Network and I first came here, the first thing I wanted to do was learn contract development, and I started dipping my toe into it and kind of thought, oh wow, this is really hard. And it's hard because I'm a web developer, right? So I come from a scripting background. So compiled code, like highly type safe code. Just Rust is like, there's a reason we use Rust, and it's because it's extremely robust and safe in terms of like memory leaks and things like that. And we need to be safe when we're dealing with Secret Network. But for a developer like me, I thought it's just too hard. So I thought I'll just focus on the front end. And being a front end web developer who knew Vue.js and React and was pretty comfortable developing web applications, I thought, well, this will be easy. You know what I mean? This side of things is the easy thing. And what I learned very quickly was that although challenging, the contract side of things is like a pretty defined and sort of controlled domain in which you build stuff and sort of release it. And I kind of liken it to database development in like the way database development used to work with like stored procedures and triggers and things like that. Anyway, when you're building it feels like when you're building the contract space, everyone expects it to be hard, and so they help each other with that. On the front end space, you don't expect it to be, and then when it is, you feel like, what's wrong with me, or why can't I do this, or why is this so hard? And we realized really quickly that the reason is because there isn't just a lot of this like kind of just core tooling and stuff that there's a lot of problems that everyone has to solve, and everyone's solving them differently, and there are better and worse ways to solve those problems. And we feel like by focusing all of our energy on those problems, we're able to come up with the best way to solve them so that you don't have to. Let's say it that way.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely love it. So what projects has Griptape been used on already? Because I know it did go live a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, it's been in beta for, I mean, it still is, I guess, in beta, but I'm trying to think, like the first thing that we used it for, can't really remember, but
I think it was Duplex, right?
It was Duplex, yeah. I guess Duplex was built with Griptape. But prior to that, it was a working framework, although very different than it is right now. At the time that we got a grant through the ecosystem fund, I guess. When we got the grant, it was already functional, but we then worked on it for, I think that was April. I'm totally blanking on the dates. I should know that. No, it was later than that, maybe July. Anyway, we built it, and it was in around December that we kind of completed the development side of that grant. And then this hackathon is really the sort of last thing that we're doing that we had mentioned in that grant. But coming up, there's going to be a lot of applications built on it. Notably, Shade is using Griptape to build it. I think I heard that Jackal is going to use it, and I think that, and then there's a lot of smaller apps that we've built. So Anon's used it, Emergent Properties uses it, and then we've just gotten like hints from other people. But one of the goals of this hackathon is to start to bring the community together, and we'll find out what people are building, I think, as well, which is going to be really helpful.
I love hackathons. Incentivize people to get kind of MVPs rolling out. I mean, that's how Secret Heroes got started, and it's led to a lot of great things in the network. I mean, that's how Fartles got started. So I can't wait to see what projects kind of get to bring their ideas to fruition. I mean, top prize is several grand at this point. And yeah, if it could be easier with Griptape, let's start getting people using Griptape and bringing the awareness to it 100%.
Yeah.
So walk me through the hackathon. How's that going to work?
Yeah, so we're doing it a little bit differently. Our hackathon, because we're a front-end framework that depends on contracts to be built, we decided we wanted everyone to work on the same contract. We thought that would be a really good way to basically, let's say, put a control in place for the contract side of things, so everyone's building the same thing, and then sort of learn from that, and then sort of differentiate yourself on the front end where Griptape is used mostly. For that contract, we actually chose the contract that the first contract that I, myself, and my other partner who's not on this but works with Luis, Victor, built. The first thing that we built was the secret auctions product on the network. And that was like our rude awakening into the secret network development ecosystem, or just developing on secret network. And we basically made every mistake, fixed a lot of them, but then out of that, I basically brought what we had built when it was working to Luis and said, look at the things that we did, some of the practices we put in place, some of the libraries we wrote, and let's turn this into a real framework that other people can use. Let's make this way better than it is, and then let's go from there. And that was where Luis and I started collaborating, and then eventually Luis sort of took the reins and has been building it himself from that. So for the hackathon, we're going to rebuild the secret auction site, that application. And the idea is that we're going to do it, we're going to have it's for the month of February, and we're going to have 4 2-hour live coding sessions every Tuesday, Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to do those live coding sessions and try our best to build the application from the ground up in those 4 sessions for people to watch us do that. Then we're going to have extended office hours every Thursday. So that'll be another 2 hours at 1 p.m. on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, we're going to have happy hour, which may extend beyond the hackathon. I don't know, for Griptape developers to just talk and whatever. But yeah, we struggled with criteria, but the winner will be the person who builds what we think is the best starting point for what will become the actual replacement for what Secret Auctions is right now. And our hope is that that person who wins that with the 500 secret that they get will then we'll work with them if they want, but we'll then work to bring that as a grant or some other funding mechanism and take over that project and become the maintainers of it. So if everything goes well, that's what will happen in this hackathon.
So guys, participate. This is your chance to earn a job. Let's go.
Yeah.
To earn a company.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. JM is saying awesome incentive. Thanks for being here, man. Yeah, no, that's actually really cool. I've never seen a hackathon where instead of you bringing your own ideas and try to build it out and compete on that, everyone has the same starting point, and what you're trying to do is who does the best job of it. So a little bit of design work, UX. Can you walk through what some of the issues were with that you guys were running into just building out UXs and stuff before creating Griptape? Like, where are people struggling? Because it's not just you guys. Like, obviously, I've heard everybody struggling with it. Everybody wants these development tools to be built. What are some examples?
I mean, I'm going to let Luis take this because he's going to get way deeper into this than I can. But I'll just say that from my experience, there's what's going on with Secret Network is that we have a lot of challenges all happening at the same time and converging. And so some of those, we have viewing keys, which is a novel technology on blockchain, but it requires tooling of itself. So if you switch browsers, you end up getting different viewing keys, right, created on those two. And then you go back and forth, you keep creating viewing keys. So there should be a place for viewing keys to be centralized. No one's built that yet, So that's an example of and by the way, Griptape doesn't do that, but it would be a good thing to have. But that's just an example of very fundamental things that aren't there yet. And so when we get started, you're kind of left to figure that out on your own, if you will. add to that the challenge of state being private in secret network, which is just challenging to deal with. Usually the person who's writing the front end in some way has full control of the database, right? And they make the decisions about who sees what and whatever, but they can see everything. They're like God, and then they, actually, you hear a lot about, I think in Stash, I was talking to Clipart about this, and he was telling me they have God mode in Stash when he's doing it, where he can do anything, Usually you have God mode. When you're working with a blockchain that has encrypted state, you don't have that mode, let's say, which makes it more difficult. And then lower than that, it's just challenging to develop on blockchain because it's a new data model that you're not used to. And so, yeah. So I'll let Luis take it from there, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I think the first thing as a developer, when I started, because before I got into this space, actually Sandy introduced me to this space, and before that I basically didn't know anything about blockchain in general, But while one of the things that I tried to at that time, what I tried to do in order to understand what is blockchain and all of the things that are related to that in terms, from a technical standpoint, I think it was to put my mind into and say, okay, this is not there's no magic around this, this technology should have should be based on other technology that is already built, and all the protocols are already in place in the world. So the thing that make it is different is the way it is, the rules around that, the way it is structured and the way that you need to think about things while working on this space. And when Sandy showed me secret auctions the first time, and I saw, how that works, for me it was very similar to see any other Web2 application. For me, it was, okay, there are some API that somehow you can use to query the blockchain, which is some sort of database, that you can only read and write data to, and that's it. And then there's a way that you can write data to the database, and that's it. The problem is that I saw a lot of mix. When I read the code, I was like, okay, well, this is the API that actually calls and that actually makes the query to the blockchain, but I need 3 or 4 things that actually, I need these dependencies that I need to use in order to do that. And going through all those dependencies makes me think, okay, why does someone need to always care about thinking about that if what they want to do is actually query? So there's the saying that there are people that get the thing that they want, that only see the thing that they want, and there's also people that only see the things that prevent them to get the thing what they want, right? So it was kind of for me it was oh, okay, I'm just seeing all the things that prevents me to actually get the query that I want to do rather than just querying it. So one of the things when I started seeing secret auctions was, okay, I need to integrate Kepler, I need to integrate Secret.js, and somehow I need to make all that to work in a cohesive way so I can do the query that I want. So one of the first things that we created was precisely the Bootstrap API on Griptape. The Bootstrap API is the one that takes care of all these little things that you need to do in order to start interacting with contracts. So that's one, let's say that Griptape is separated into modules, and the first big module, let's say, is the Bootstrap API. It helps you through doing all of that. And I can actually share my screen so you can guys see how that works.
That'd be great.
So let me share my screen here. Okay. So hopefully you guys are seeing it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so one of the first things that you need to do is to bootstrap your app, right? So there are 2 things in Griptape that you really need to understand. The first thing is that Griptape works with any framework. okay, with any front-end framework, or with basically is a vanilla JavaScript framework that you can use everywhere.
Nice.
In this case, in the browser. So either if you have a React or you have a Vue or a Svelte application, you can actually integrate Griptape to your application. And the idea is that once you have a simple React or Vue application, then you can add Griptape to that application, so you can so Griptape can take care of how the application gets executed and how all the pieces get come together into one piece, into one thing. So the Bootstrap API is basically separated into two parts. The first thing is something that we call gripping an application, which basically means that once you have your React application, you can just grip, like when you in the skateboard, when you grip the board in order to put the grip tape on it. Here's also kind of the similar analogy. You have your application ready and then you grip it. So
I love how often you guys use skateboarding references. This is really cool. I wish I could skateboard. I'm an athletic guy. I can't skate. I can't like stand on a skateboard without just dying.
Yeah, it's all like childhood. Like everything, it's like your brain never gets away from what you did when you're in middle school or something. So for me, it was all that whole time my life was all skateboarding. So that's what it comes back to.
I'll make a project called Hacky Sack JS, and it fails after 4 attempts.
Awesome.
All right, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, totally. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean that's kind of also the funny part of Griptape, that we could use this like all this terminology and it's really fun to actually talk about it when someone is having a conversation about it. So yeah, this is gripping an application, and it's as simple as just having provide some information to Griptape so it can actually bootstrap or start the application with all Kepler, all the connection to the blockchain already in. So that's like the first problem that we saw was, okay, this is really difficult to just have something to work. So let's build an API that can help you out through integrating all the different pieces so you can start actually having an application to work. And then the second part that we created was a mechanism in which you can have like different states in your application. So for instance, let's say that you want to have some sort of landing page for your application. But at that point, you don't want, Kepler to pop up suddenly, or you don't really want to do anything related with sending transactions, because at that point, maybe what you want to do is to show you the users what is your application, what it does, all the information that you need to provide to users, to end users to use your applications. So we created like a mini state machine in which you can say, okay, when I have a regular application and then I grip it, then maybe I can start making queries to the blockchain, but not really doing transactions until I bootstrap the application. So at that point, I will maybe enable Kepler, so I can, Kepler will pop up maybe by a button if I click a button on my UI. And then after that, you will be able to access to your account and your viewing keys in case there's the need for having viewing keys. So this was the first problem, and we solved it by giving to people an API to do that. Now, in the same like line, the next problem that I found was, okay, it's really difficult to, well, not difficult, but you really need to understand how SCRT.js works and all the APIs that it has in order to, query the block.
Luis, your mic cut off again. No, can't hear you.
Hey, while Luis is figuring that out, I'll just talk about nothing.
No, it's all good. This is really cool. So what you guys are saying is that you can take existing applications and wire them through Griptape to make them easier to continue adjusting, correct?
Yeah, you could if you wanted to. I think that the real power is helping, that I see anyway, is in starting with it, because it kind of gives you what Luis will go into is that it gives you a sort of mindset and design philosophy in how to approach the building of an application. But you could retrofit an application that you already have. The thing is, though, that most applications that you have are going to be connecting to data sources in different ways. So it's not going to be exactly apples to apples, but yeah, you could if you wanted to.
If somebody is going to take secret auctions and they're going to build out a user interface for it, how much time would this save?
A significant amount of time. I mean, the thing is, though, so let's imagine there's someone who's already built a secret application, a substantial one, one that has like a full application, not just like did a tutorial or whatever. They will have had to have solved a lot of problems. And if they're at all proficient, they probably would have written some tools to do that. So they're not just going to keep writing blocks and blocks of code over and over again. They'll like consolidate it into one API and that kind of thing. At that point, when they move on to their next application, then they have a process in place that they use to do it. And so they would have a way to do that. That would be good. Now, what we think that we've built is the best processes way of doing this. And we've been validated, actually, frankly, the most interesting thing is that we built this in a vacuum. Luis very much working from first principles. But then when we looked out at what other people were doing in the Ethereum ecosystem with Web3 and some other frameworks within the space, we pretty much approached the problem in a very similar way. And mainly the way I'm talking about is the way Luis will talk about the contract API and how do we interact with contracts. And so that's another thing that's kind of exciting about Griptape for us, is that we feel like it'll bring people outside of Cosmos into Cosmos with something that they're relatively comfortable with already.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep. So can you hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
I'm bringing your screen share back too.
Okay, awesome. So can you guys see my screen?
I'm seeing some live code. I love it.
Okay, perfect.
A sharp looking website, by the way. I heard that's going live today.
Yep, that's right. So can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So the next problem that I found was, okay, I want to really query my contract and I want to get information from the blockchain and write to the blockchain. The APIs, there's nothing wrong about the APIs from Secret.js, but the same, you really need to have everything, the foundation of your application really need to be well thought. Otherwise, you'll end up with a lot of problems that you'll need to solve over and over again. And it might be the case that you might also want to, go to repeat code in certain pieces of your application just to make it to work. So what we did was to create a very simple API that helps you to define the contracts that you want to interact with that are already deployed in the blockchain, but with a very, very, few lines of code and okay, relatively easy. So rather than you set up all the things that you need to actually query or send messages to the blockchain, we just remove all of that from the end user and created something called contract definitions, or the contracts API. And one of the pieces of the contracts API is the contract definitions. And what are these? Think of it for anyone who is a developer will perfectly know about object-oriented programming, and they will know about classes and objects. So the most simple way to describe them is that a class is like a blueprint. It is just something that describes what an object has, and the object itself is is the instantiation of the class. So let's say that you have a recipe for making a pie, and you have the pie. So the recipe of the pie is a class, and the pie itself is the object. So in the same sense, contract definitions are just something that describes how the contract looks on the blockchain. But when you create a client to interact with the contract, you'll need to call in a specific API from Griptape that will create that contract or that client that will give you access to calling the contract that is deployed on the blockchain. So in this case, contract definitions will help you to just define what queries and what messages are part of your contract. So as you can see, for example, here, if we have a counter contract, we'll have a query that get the count, and also we'll have a message to actually increment the count in case that, if that's the case that that contract does that. Then there's a lot of features that we added to this API, like giving the user the ability to access your address. If there are viewing keys related, you can just access them from the same API. So it's really easy to build all the things that you need to actually interact with your contract. But the real benefit of this is when you actually create a client to connect to that contract. So once you have a contract definition, you can actually create the contract. We call it create, but what you're actually doing is building a client to interact with your contract. And then you pass in the definition that you created, and then the object that you get in return to from calling this method is actually a very simple object that you can use to query and run all the messages and all the queries that you need to. So with this API, what we're looking for is for people to easily interact with their contracts, but to actually giving them the possibility to write their own definitions for other people. And the same way as we did, we actually create definitions for the SNP 20s and SNP 721 definitions, so they don't need to write anything to interact with a SNP 20 or a SNP 721. So basically, when someone comes, and say, okay, I want to build a front end for this NFT project that I have in mind, it will be super, basically, a matter of minutes to set up an application that interacts with your contract, because we already have a built-in definition for you, so you can use it right away.
That is absolutely fantastic. That's really cool. I know if people are watching and they're not necessarily coders or whatnot, like, this is going to make things so much faster. And if you're developing something, you get to skip a whole lot of the boring work and stick to what you like. So this is huge for the network, guys.
The other cool thing that Luis isn't mentioning is that it's all written in TypeScript, which is something that I personally don't know. So you could look at the point at which I lost the ability to help out Luis at the point where we switched to TypeScript. But the real benefit of that, and Luis will tell you, he likes writing TypeScript more than JavaScript now, and it's easier for him actually. But the real benefit of that now is when you include this SNP 20 contract or the SNP 721 contract, and then you go into an editor like VS Code or whatever, and you start typing, and you type in like the name of your contract. Like maybe you gave it an ID to say it's going to be, your I don't know, your rabbit, if you were doing that or something like that. I'll choose something else, your aardvark. And so you'd say aardvark dot, and then it would give you a hint as to all the different queries and all the different messages you have available to you at that point, which is really important, because from a front-end developer standpoint, like, they're not going in and trying to look at the Rust code and figure out all the different things they can have. They don't know what they need to pass in to do a transaction. They don't know if to do it this way, they're going to need to pass in a viewing key. And everyone who's writing a contract is writing it slightly differently. So, passing a viewing key can be different between different contracts. This tells you exactly how to do it. So there's a lot of stuff like that makes just the development experience a lot better and a lot faster.
Well, I want to win over $3,000, as well as a job taking this over and the setup for a grant. So tell me what we can do to get set up for the hackathon.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be, we're a little bit behind. We're building a framework that is for developers, which means people who actually use it, and it has to be good. So that means that we're focusing very much on the nuts and bolts most of the time. And we're getting there on the more sort of like front end, the front end of the front end. We're the more customer facing side of things. So bear with us here, but we're launching our website tonight, and on that website for the hackathon will be a form that you can fill out to join. You can either join as an individual or a team. Everyone fills out the form, even if they're in a team, and they just give the name of the team, and then we'll join people that way. And we're going to accept submissions up until Sunday, I believe the 6th. So even though it starts on Tuesday, we're getting a little bit of a late start, so we want people to be able to join. And then the reason we're getting an address from you is we're going to be sending you some tokens that you can use. We're going to be asking you to use that to instantiate and telling you how to instantiate some of these contracts so that you have your own version of them, so that everyone's not interacting with each other and sort of stepping on each other as they're developing. And then that will also be the wallet that we'll send the secret to if you win. So yeah, you'll join. You'll get a welcome packet on, I guess, starting. We'll send those out on Monday night, and and then just join in Discord and get active and watch the videos and participate, and hopefully, hopefully this is like a really painless process to get started, and hopefully it's a fun application. I was just yesterday, Luis and I were going back and looking at the original code and being like, oh yeah, I forgot. Oh my God, I forgot you had to do that. Oh, it's like not an easy thing to build, actually. It's a pretty it's a nice contract in that way. So you're really gonna get to try and learn a lot of things, but if you stick with it, I think that it'll be really rewarding.
Yeah, and if you guys have, if you have any interest in building things on Secret Network, I mean, there's no point in building something that doesn't have a UI at this point. And Griptape is going to be an easier way to do this. So whether you participate and try to win prizes in the hackathon, or just use it as an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the guys who built it, it'll set you up to build much more on Secret Network going forward, which of course everybody is going to do. So I dropped here on the comment, griptapejs.com/hackathon. That is the website I was given before the show. For the Discord, are you guys having a special Discord for it, or is it just the Secret Network Discord?
We have our own Discord. I included a link in the private chat with you. Okay. I'm not sure if that shows up.
I will drop it right now.
Yeah, so that's our Discord. I'm told they're going to be adding a channel on Secret Network. Let me check. I don't know if it's there yet, but for Griptape. And that you can like reach out to us on that, and we'll if it's there. I'm looking right now, I'm not seeing it, so maybe it's not there yet. But yeah, it's not there yet. But just come to our Discord and reach out, and we can the site copy that URL and then try it tonight, because currently it will break. It's not going to take you anywhere, but we got a nice sign up form. It's exciting. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. I've got a hello from Living Opera. That is an NFT project I've talked about that's interested in doing generative art. So I may have dropped your guys' names down about emergent properties. But
oh, very cool. Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank all you guys for listening, and people who are listening back and watching this late. Griptape is going to be the easiest way to build UXs on Secret Network. Secret Network's the future with private smart contracts. This is the way to build it going forward. Participate in this hackathon to win up to a total of 875 secret worth of prizes, and get yourself set up with a job. If first place gets a chance to actually take over building out secret auctions, which OTC and auctions and whatnot are going to be huge. We need those integrated with NFTs as well as more that's being built. So I love it. I mean, hey, I'm representing Revealed Network all the time, and some people are wanting to buy specific tickets from other people, and we need these OTC auction places in order to facilitate that. So yeah, this is super cool, guys.
No, thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Always. If you guys are here watching this, stay tuned in 50 minutes when we're having Can't Stop Good Boy, an artist on to represent Pieces NFT, is a really cool new NFT project where they're also going to be mailing out the actual paintings to the people who hold the NFT. And that'll be cool. So I'll drop a link to that here. But guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good job building this out. This is super cool. And
yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Very impressed, guys.
Okay, take care.